Baik, terima kasih Prof. Silvana Sinar sudah hadir sebagai penguji eksternal. Bapak Ibu, kita akan mulai sidang promosi doktor ini. Kita serahkan pada Pak Pian. Silakan Pak Pian.
Baik, terima kasih Bapak Direktur selaku pimpinan sidang pada ujian terbuka pada hari ini. Selamat pagi dan salam sejahtera Bapak Ibu sekalian yang kami muliakan. Selamat bergabung dan mohon izin Bapak Ibu acara kita mulai. Sidang promosi doktor linguistik terapan bahasa Inggris Pasca Sarjana Universitas Negeri Medan. Promovendus Mandra Saragi, Rabu 10 Mei 2023. Pembukaan sidang ujian promosi doktor oleh pimpinan sidang.
Dengan mengucap puji dan syukur kehadirat Tuhan Yang Maha Esa, pada hari ini, Rabu 10 Mei 2023, sidang promosi doktor linguistik terapan bahasa Inggris, program Pasca Sarjana Universitas Negeri Medan, dengan promovendus nama Mandra Saragi, NIM 8176116007, saya buka dengan resmi. Atas nama Rektor, Direktur Pasca Sarjana Bornok Sinaga.
Selanjutnya, pembacaan biodata promovendus Mandra Saragi oleh Prof.
Amrin. Saya membacakan ya, Prof.
Silakan, Prof.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Yang saya hormati Bapak Pimpinan Sidang, Profesor Bornok Sinaga MPD. Baiklah, saya bacakan biodata promovendus Mandra Saragi. Mandra Saragi lahir di Margoda di Huta Bayu Raja tanggal 24 Desember 1984. Alamat Jalan Baru, Kelurahan Terjun, Medan Marelan, Kota Medan. Tempat bekerja Universitas Muhammadiyah Sumatera Utara, jabatan akademik, lektor, agama Islam, nama orang tua ayah Aliman Saragi, ibu Sardina Sitorus, anak ketiga dari 6 bersaudara, nama istri Anissa SPD, nama anak El Nasri Mahija Bakir Saragi, kedua Afkar Radinka Sahata Saragi, tiga Ahsanta Rais Naidayar Saragi. Adapun pendidikan yang sudah dijalani dari mulai SD Negeri Impres Huta Bayu Raja tamat tahun 1994, di MTS Al Kausar Pane Tonga Simalungun tamat tahun 2000, Madrasah Aliyah Al Kausar Pane Tonga Simalungun tamat tahun 2003. S1 Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris UMSU tamat tahun 2008. S2 Linguistik Terapan Bahasa Inggris tamat tahun 2013. S3 Linguistik Terapan Bahasa Inggris tahun ini tamat tahun 2023. Adapun pengalaman bekerjanya sebagai berikut: sebagai Sekretaris Program Studi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris FKIP UMSU tahun 2013 sampai 2017, sebagai Ketua Program Studi Pendidikan Bahasa Inggris FKIP UMSU tahun 2017 sampai 2022, sebagai Wakil Dekan 3 Bidang Kemahasiswaan dan Alumni FKIP UMSU 2021 sampai 2025. Sebagai PIC Program Mahasiswa Merdeka UMSU tahun 2023 sebagai pembina unit kegiatan mahasiswa Futsal UMSU 2015 sampai 2023. Sekian biodata dari Promohendus Mandra Saragi. Terima kasih.
Baik, terima kasih kepada promotor. Selanjutnya, pelaksanaan ujian oleh Promovendus dipimpin oleh pimpinan sidang.
Pimpinan Universitas Negeri Medan yang kami hormati, para Dewan Guru Besar yang kami muliakan, seluruh Bapak Ibu promotor-kopromotor, Dewan Penguji internal dan eksternal yang kami hormati, terima kasih atas kehadirannya. Kita beri kesempatan kepada Saudara Mandra Saragi untuk menyajikan berbagai temuan riset, produk riset, kebaruan riset, serta implikasi temuan riset ini dan bagaimana implementasi riset ini di masa yang akan datang bermanfaat kepada pemangku kepentingan. Untuk itu kita berikan waktu kurang lebih 20 menit. Pak Mandra siap?
Siap, Prof.
Baik, kami beri waktu 20 menit. Silakan Anda menggunakan waktu yang dengan baik. Ini adalah ujian promosi. Beri penekanan pada temuan, produk, dan kebaruannya, ya. Dan bagaimana kira-kira implementasi produk riset ini dimanfaatkan oleh pemangku kepentingan. Silakan.
Siap, terima kasih, Prof. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Selamat pagi, salam sejahtera buat kita semua. First of all, let us praise and thank to the presence of Allah Almighty, who has given us the health and blessings until we are able to meet together virtually in conducting my examination today. Salawat and salam to our Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. The Honorable Rector, State University of Medan, Professor Dr. Samsul Gultom, SKM MKes, the Honorable Director Pasca Sarjana, State University of Medan, Professor Dr. Borno Sinaga MPD, the Honorable, the Head of a Doctoral Program on Applied English Linguistic Program, State University of Medan, Professor Amrin Saragi, MA PhD, and also as my promoter. The Honorable Professor Dr. Sumarsi, MPD, as my co-promoter. And the Honorable Professor Dr. Siti Aisyah Ginting, MPD, as the first examiner. The Honorable Professor Dr. Sriminda Murni, MPD, as the second examiner today. The Honorable Dr. Rahmat Hussein, MPD, as the third examiner. The Honorable Professor Silvana Sinar, PhD, as the external examiner, and the Honorable all of audiences in these examinations. On these occasions, I would like to deliver the result of my research dissertations under the title Language Policy and Ideology, Mapping Linguistics Landscape of Medan, North Sumatra. At the beginning of my presentations, I would like to present phenomena gap of my research. It is firstly about phenomena of language policy of Indonesia, especially in Medan, North Sumatra. Language policy is a part of ideas, laws, regulations, rules, procedure, and practices aimed at preserving and promoting a specific language and addressing mutual issue of language diversity and multilingualisms. Talking about language policy in Indonesia, actually Indonesia has the strongest rules about language policy itself. A first idea of language policy of Bahasa Indonesia was declared in the Congress of Bahasa Indonesia on October 28, 1928 at the Youth Plat. It was declared specifically aimed to maintain Bahasa Indonesia from various potential factors. The second rules, which is specifically regulated about language policy, is written in the Minister of Home Affairs Regulation number 40, 2007. And the third rules is in our Constitution of Republic of Indonesia, 2009. And the fourth rules is written in Indonesian Government Regulation 2014. So this regulation commands all governor of Indonesia to prioritize the use of Bahasa Indonesia. So based on these regulations, Governor of North Sumatra made a local regulation number 8, 2017, which is commonly say in Bahasa Indonesia as Perda, Peraturan Daerah, which is specifically regulate about mandatory the use of Bahasa Indonesia, especially in the public area or in public spaces. But unfortunately, the reality is the expected dominant use of Bahasa Indonesia in public places was contrary to that of the linguistic landscape of Medan. So linguistic landscape is a text displayed on a public sphere or public space, such as advertisement billboard, commercial subsign, and etc. So linguistic landscape in Medan is quite dynamic and tightly competitive. There are many institutions, political, publics, social, commercial, again, participate in the linguistic landscape by using varieties of languages. So linguistic landscape, the dynamic linguistic landscape in Medan is clearly seen from the pattern of language used or the pattern of use of the language in the linguistic landscape of Medan is manifested through monolingual text, and also manifested through bilingual or bilingual text and multilingual text. So linguistic landscape portrays that language policy was not well implemented, and it really need to be investigated from many perspectives, including from ideological perspective. Talking about ideology, language ideology. So language ideology is about belief, values, and attitude held by individual and societies about language use and a language diversity. So what ideology has influenced the making of linguistics landscape, and what motifs are strongly influenced the landscape? So this phenomena gap of my research that I think it is a very urgent need to be investigated or need to be researched. And the research gap of my research gap first research conducted by Garnasi 2019, language policy, ideology, and language attitude. and a study of Indonesian parents and their choice of language in the home. So the findings of this research findings show that most parents speak a mixture of Indonesia and English, which suggests that they still value Indonesia as the family language, not official language. But the use of English to support their children's schoolings, the parents added to reflect the ideology of language inculcated through language policy and implemented through education. So the result is different with my research, with my result of my research. And the second is about the research conducted by Ramila Diaz-Naumik. The title, How Change in Linguistics Policy Affect Linguistic Landscape, an exam from multilingual university program in Brittany. The results show that the space is divided into top-down, bottom-up. In this scenario, change in linguistics landscapes occur, especially at the institutional levels. So the board research have a different result with my research results. And next is about the problem of my study. And in my research has three problems. And the first is about what are proportion of language in the linguistic landscape of Medan. So these problems, these questions is a need or the answer how many proportion or the numbers of proportion of language, of varieties of languages in the linguistic landscape of Medan. And the second is how are proportion of the language mapped onto language policy of Indonesia. And the third is why are the proportion of the language ideology for or against the national language policy. And this is the grand theory of my research about linguistics landscape. So linguistics landscape, according to Laundrie, the linguistic landscape is about the language of public root sign, advertising billboard, a street name, place name, commercial subsign, and public sign on governmental buildings. So this concept divided linguistics landscape divided into two types. First is top-down and bottom-up linguistics landscapes. So top-down means the official sign placed by the government or related institutions. So such as public institutions, religious institution, governmental and education institution, public announcements. So bottom up means that non-official sign put there by commercial enterprise or by private organization or person, such as shop sign, private business sign, office, factories, agencies, and also a and the second is about symbolic functions, informative function which describe the borders of the territory of linguistics group, and specific language or languages for communication or to sell product. Symbolic functions is described about the value of the language, a status of the language, identity of the language. And now is about technique of data analysis. So the technique of data analysis in this research was applied interactive analysis by Miles and Huberman and Saldana 2014. So in this research, it was conducted by ongoing analysis after collecting the data. So purposes and analysis model consists of three concept steps, a concurrent step. They are data condensation. So data condensation refers to the process of selecting, focusing, simplifying, abstracting, and transforming the data that appear in written of field note, interviews, transcript, document, and other principles and other empirical materials. And for example, selecting. So in selecting, researcher selected the data or photograph in determining specific data. So in these sections, the research selected specific location with a diversity of linguistics elements such as advertising billboard, commercial subsign, housing complex, and place names, and route sign, and etc. So take a picture of linguistics text that were displayed in the public area. And after that, the researcher selected the data in determining source of data to have a valid result analysis. So the second point B is a focusing. So in this process, researcher focus on grouping data based on top-down and bottom-up categories. And the next step is simplifying. So in this process, the researcher selected the data that was actually very need to be analyzed, such as selected monolingual text, bilingual text, and multilingual text. And the next is abstracting or transforming data. So this researcher, the researcher firstly classified the data into 5 elements of linguistic landscape, namely advertising billboard, commercial subsign, house complex, place name, a street sign based on the 2 areas of Medan. After that, researcher classified them based on monolingual, bilingual, and multilingual categories to investigate the language proportions in the linguistic landscape and analyze the rational reasons of language users. The second is data display. So in data display, researcher truly identified the data that to be displayed. The data were in the form of text and image. After that, researcher organize the data into categories or groups to make it easier to display and analyze. And next is conclusion drawing, and verification. So in drawing conclusion process, researchers synthesized and interpreted the data collected during the study to arrive at a set of findings. This involved analysis the data to identify proportion of language, making inferences and drawing connection between different aspects of linguistics landscape. So in verification process, researcher check the accuracy and validity of this conclusion, conclusions. So the next is the finding of the research findings. So based on research questions, so my research have 3 research findings. The first is the linguistic landscape of Medan is dominated by private sector with proportions of 2/3 or around 66.25%, and the government around 1/3 or 33.75%. So it's clearly seen that the private sector is dominantly here. So related to the language proportions of linguistic landscape in 2 areas of Medan, because the Medan is divided into 2 areas. First is urban Medan or a center of Medan, and the second is suburban of Medan, the other side of Medan. So my research showed that monolingual, in terms of monolingual text, so English is about 30%. So English is dominant in urban Medan in terms of monolingual text. Bahasa Indonesia 21.40%, Arabic 1.99, and the others, and actually there are these languages found in monolingual text. In terms of bilingual, Bahasa Indonesia and English is dominantly found in the linguistic landscape of Medan, which is 21.4%, and Bahasa Indonesia and Arabic, and English and Arabic, English and Chinese, Bahasa and local language, Batak, like Japanese and Malay and etc. So about local language contributed or participate in the linguistic landscape of Medan. So, and in terms of multilingual texts, were dominated by Bahasa, English, and Japa, and Bahasa, English, and Arabic, Bahasa, English, and Chinese. In suburban of Medan's monolingual text is still English is a dominance, and Bahasa Indonesia, Arabic, and Sanskrit is also found in the monolingual text. In terms of bilinguals, Bahasa and English, Bahasa and Arabic, Bahasa and local language such as Batak. So in suburban of Medan, local language appears more.
2 menit lagi, Pak Mandra.
Yeah, and the second finding is, according to my research question, is the expected dominance use of Bahasa Indonesia in all domains in public places was contrary to that of the linguistic landscape of Medan, where Bahasa Indonesia was only predominantly used in 2 linguistic landscape domains, namely domain place name and street sign names. And the English language or foreign language is dominantly used in 3 domains, namely commercial subsign, windows, advertisement, billboard, and house complex. And the last one, underlying reason for proportion of the language ideology for or against the language policy is identified as follows, as being related to: first is commercialization purposes. The second is the prestige of reputation or of foreign language use, and then religious practice, and then the last one is about identity or cultural factors. And now I'm going to tell about novelty of my research. So novelty of my research is linguistic landscape in Medan reflects language competition in multilingual communities where social norms and rules are negotiated, so constructed and mutually agreed by the contestants concerned on one side and the government's authority as a referee on the other side. So linguistic landscape is not only about language display in a public area, but actually linguistic landscape is about language competitions. So the second novelty of my research is linguistics landscape is a new approach in the study of language plannings. Means that if we are going to make a language planning, so a study of linguistic landscape can be used for considering some steps. And also landscape or linguistic landscape is a new approach in the language policy, as well as the development and evaluation of language preservation and promotions. And next is conclusions. So the conclusion, the proportion of language in linguistic landscape in Medan is quite dynamic and dominated by English. The large of proportion language reflect that the linguistic landscape is a very tight language competition, which manifested through monolingual, bilingual, and multilingual. The second is the language proportion of linguistic landscape in Medan proved that regional regulation number 8 and of 2007 has not been implemented optimally, and Bahasa Indonesia has not played the role of being the main language in Medan's public space. It can be clearly seen by which numbers of language found in the linguistic landscape are predominantly used foreign languages. And the last one is the reasons proportion of language ideology for against language policy are influenced by several factors: commercialization, obtaining prestige, reputation, obtaining identity factors, and religious factors. So it was reflect that a sense of linguistic nationalism is not in accordance with the expectation of the language policy written in the regional regulations of North Sumatra. So the last is about the implication of my research. So the implication of my research, linguistic landscape reflect commercial, political, and cultural competition with the government authorities acting as a referee. And the second, the finding of this research are worth using in development and evaluation of language policy and planning strategies aimed at promoting and preserving Bahasa Indonesia. And the third is linguistic landscape reflect a social dynamic of language where various cultural background interacted and social norms reflected. And the last one, implication is linguistics landscape is potentially used as a source of language material, either for language learning skill and also language content. And the suggestion for the government to successful realization of language policy, the government should help a deliberate effort to socialize it as large as possible and making strict sanctions. So researcher is looking forward to the implementation of the regional regulation of North Sumatra Utara number 8 2017 can be run optimally under strict guidance. For business owner or private institution regarding to the language policy, so business owner or private proprietors, institution or agency, parties are required to be more priority in using Bahasa Indonesia rather than foreign languages in the linguistic landscape that has been regulated by the governments. For researcher, it's hoped that this research will expand in large scope, not only in Medan, but other districts whose linguistic landscape is dynamic, especially a tourist destination district. And for students, especially for linguistic academic students, it is expected to investigate another issue about linguistic landscape that can be analyzed, investigate to aid of linguistics horizons. I think that's all. Thank you, Professor Bornok, for the times.
Baik, stop share. Baik, terima kasih pada Saudara Profendus Mandra Saragi. Selanjutnya kita mintakan dengan hormat kepada Ibu Profesor T. Silvana Sinar, MA PhD, memberikan kajian tentang hasil riset disertasi ini melalui pertanyaan-pertanyaan, analisis. Untuk itu kami berikan kesempatan pada beliau. Silakan, Prof.
Terima kasih. Sekali lagi terima kasih Pak Direktur, Pak Profesor Bornok atas kesempatan yang diberikan pada saya. Salam sekali lagi untuk teman-teman kolega yang hadir pada hari ini. Saudara Mandra Saragi, are you ready? Yeah, of course, we have to, to review again your dissertation, even though they are already, complete, but we need to have a more sophisticated for the novelty of your research. Okay, Pak Mandra, just now I saw that you have the phenomena gap. Yeah, you said that
Yes.
You tried to review from language policy of Indonesia, and then you try to find out the situation, the linguistic landscape of Medan, which consists of the variety of language, monolingual, bilingual, and multilinguals. Isn't that true?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, bro.
Okay. So then you also you put forward and then give a portrayal of your novelty, that you try to compare other previous studies and findings with your research, and you have found out the result, a significant result, ya, bisa dikatakan, to give a novel and potential novel for the sake of knowledge advance in UNIMER course. Yeah. Now, the one more that I try to overview your dissertation, one thing that we need to remember that one of the key for researchers' success in identifying novelty in their research is through the keyword. Yeah, because you now, just say that you made a new discovery. You build on the work of others and produce re-theory or something like new perspective, and then from the existing knowledge, from the existing literature. Now my question, how did you achieve this novelty? What steps did you process in finding out this novelty?
Well, thank you, Prof. Well, in the process of identifying novelty of my research, which is, I said previously, linguistic landscape is, in Medan especially, is reflect about language competition, or the key word of my novelty is language competition. So a linguistic landscape is about language competition, is not only about a text display in the public spaces. And the process I identify is based on the data of my research, because the finding of my research stated that linguistics landscape of Medan consists of varieties of languages, and then they are the proportion of languages are very varied. So this data, I analyzed the data because the data is a very varied and very dynamics, and all languages is seen clearly competitive typely in the linguistic landscape of Medan. So by doing analysis of the data and then interpreting the data from the participants or from the interview, so I conclude. So I make one concept that a linguistics landscape is not only about language text display on publics, but linguistic landscape is about language competition, because the data show that the linguistic landscape not only use one language, but there are various of languages are used, and the pattern of language use also is a very various, monolingual and multilingual and bilingual. So based on this analysis, and then and also I did analysis to the after having interview from the owner or the contestants. So contestant means is the private sector, such as businessmen or the owner of the business. I think that's also.
Thank you very much, Pak Mandra. You just said that linguistic landscape is not only one language, not monolingual. So from what theory did you reject the previous literature saying that linguistic landscape is not only one, not monolingual? Whose theory did you reject? Because you want to renew the concept of linguistic concept from monolingual to multilingual. Siapa punya teori yang di-reject?
The previous research, say that they only say that linguistics landscape is about a study of multilingualism's communities. The previous research, such as Garnasi or and also the grand theory also say that they only stated that linguistic landscape about language in the root sign and publics and in publics root sign and billboard and shop windows.
Okay, so what concept is the newest one to answer your first question, your first research question? The proportion of linguistic landscape in Medan. Apa yang baru di situ tadi? Barusan ini. Jadi the bilingual and multilingual konsep yang baru ya? Atau ya, itu sudah lama, atau mengulang, atau copy paste, atau apa? Itu ada make it clear nanti ya di dalam penjelasannya. And then the second one is about mapping, language map on the language policy in Indonesia. Setelah before that ada language policy adalah Kongres bahasa Indonesia, kemudian ada regulation, ada Constitution of Republik Indonesia, ada Indonesian Government Regulation, ada Governor North Sumatra Local Regulation. What is something new to add one more policy? Apa policy barunya? Karena dalam mapping linguistic landscape itu. Jadi apa yang policy, kebijakan baru apa yang akan diciptakan nanti, yang kamu sarankan kepada pemerintah?
Right, thank you, Prof. So as I said previously, actually Indonesia has the strongest rules or regulation that are written in our constitutions. But the reality and the fact is the situation or this so those constitution or regulation are not well implemented in the reality. So my suggestions, I think, in my opinion, based on analysis and looking and reading by reading all regulations, and actually Indonesia regulation has a good already have a good concept or have a good ideology, because the ideology of those language policy is specifically to preserve and maintain or promoting of Bahasa Indonesia. But the something wrong is the consequence of for those elements, peoples, or for those who miss this policy is a nothing. It means that there is no strict consequence or sanctions if we miss this regulation. So the first, and the second is, as I said, actually this language policy is a very good already. But the governments have to change the way how to socialize the language policy. So the governments have used many ways to socialize about policy, and let me give one example, the way how to socialize the language policy. So making competition is also one way to socialize. So socializing is not only come to one community and socialize the policy, but there are many ways how to promote, how to socialize a language policy. Thank you, Prof.
Thank you very much. The third one, related to a research question about language ideology. Language ideology. As we know, language ideology is morally and politically loaded representation. Yeah, representation. So they inform us in language ideology. It should be informed to us how good language, yeah, and then what proficiency in language means, and then so it's good because language ideology actually has been in the rules, ya, udah ada kita punya peraturan, undang-undang bahasa. Ya, and then di tingkat daerah Sumatera Utara juga hebat karena kita mempunyai juga peraturan pemerintah ya di tingkat Sumatera Utara, yang waktu itu Dr. Sartina ya berjuang untuk itu ketika di Balai Bahasa. Nah, ini sebuah yang hebat. Nah, so because the question is, why are the proportion of language ideology for or against the national language policy? Apakah memang betul ada proporsi yang language ideology itu for and against? Ada yang for and against? Apa benar tuh?
So means for against means that for those people or a group of peoples not use Bahasa Indonesia in the public area, or not follow the government's regulation, especially local regulations number 8 2017, Prof. So it reverses that. It only reverses that, Prof.
Okay, so you are very aware, yeah, of our language ideologies, yeah, because we try to inform, we've tried to socialize to all North Sumatran people that we should be follow, the rules that the government, the North Sumatra government has notified in the notification. Yeah. Okay. So that's good because at least there should be a strong connection. Ya. Harus ada strong connection with the ada membicarakan sedikit, just discuss a little bit between this awareness of language ideologies ini dengan social function, ya, karena bukan karena Helidayen, ya, tetapi memang social function ini luar biasa dia. There is strong connection actually Jadi harus ada sedikit pembahasannya secara social function based on Hallidayan view
Yes.
about language ideologies. Itu rasanya nggak puas kalau belum ada itu. Sorry ya, Pak.
Siap.
Kemudian ada satu pertanyaan tadi ya yang saya awali dengan keywords tadi ya, keywords dalam penelitian ini. Saya perhatikan, I read that the keywords of your dissertation. So when people want to find out your dissertation, then they can search through language policy, ideology, and linguistic landscape seperti yang terdapat di dalam keyword hasil penelitian yang tertuang dalam abstrak. Nah, the keywords and phrases of your research are language policy, ideology, and linguistic landscape. As far as I'm concerned, that these keywords are not new. Yeah, this is a very normal terms. Yeah, normal terms that we can find daily when we study linguistics and or we study about sociology. So this ideology concept, language policy, linguistic is a simple one. So my question, how will you help all the readers, especially linguistic readers, in searching, finding your research novelty in an efficient way through these keywords? What terms, the most relevant to publish to your publication, in your research paper or your dissertation? Actually, these three terms are not highlighted. It's very simple. Jadi kan kita menggunakan Zotero, Mendeley untuk menelusuri, to try to find out reference, to integrate with publication, to search, to access, Kita pakai Mendeley misalnya, tapi kok yang kita temukan only biasa aja lah, language policy adalah normal, ya kan? Tapi you just told us that you improve previous research, you develop new one, but we cannot find in the keywords. How can we do that? How can you help us to search that? Jadi ada yang baru mestinya. Itu sarannya, ya kan? Betul. Coba kamu jawab. Silakan. Mungkin ada pandangan sendiri, ya.
Okay, thank you, Prof. And I realized that my research, I have three variables of my research. First is about, the variable means that the keyword, language policy, language ideology, and then a linguistics landscape. But why did I interested to help research about the language policy? Because even those language policy has been researched for many scholars or many linguists, for examples. But I see that there is phenomena about language policy in North Sumatra, especially in Medan, because as I say that actually Medan or Indonesia has the strongest rules about language policy. As I mentioned in my research dissertations, there are around five. And I think there are more regulation or rules are notified about a language policy. But the phenomena of language policy in Indonesia that make me interested to help research about the language policy. And then I correlated with the linguistics landscape because actually the specific or my the language policy, my study it only concerned to regional local regional language policy made up by governor of North Sumatra, and it is specifically about or manage or command us to use Bahasa Indonesia in the public space or public area. So by looking at this phenomena, so that's why I interested to investigate. I tried to find out the new things or new informations about what make Indonesian people are still not aware to the language policy that made up by governments. So that's the answer, Prof. Thank you. Sorry, Prof.
Thank you very much for the answer. So I hope it will be another new term, for the keyword, mungkin maybe Medan landscape, itu jadi baru ya. Kalau cuma linguistic landscape saja, mungkin itu lama punya. Ya, karena apa sih yang baru di sini? Kan di sini ada mapping atau North Sumatra Medan ada nih. Landscape of Medan ada, linguistic landscape of Medan udah ada. Nah, di situ mungkin adalah yang baru. Jadi keyword itu kalau orang mau cari bisa dapat, walaupun nanti dengan landscape saja sudah mudah dapat. Tapi kalau mau spesifik, ya. Oke, thank you very much, Pak Borno. Terima kasih atas kesempatannya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Baik, terima kasih, Prof. D. Silvana Sinar. Jadi, Saudara Mandra, lagi.
Ya, Prof.
Itu nanti di akhir bab 1-mu itu, itu harus Prof. Ada 3 keyword itu.
Siap, Prof.
Apa konsep batasan istilah itu ya?
Siap, Prof.
Ini tidak ada Anda buat. Ya, linguistic landscape, kan? Language policy, ya, sama satu lagi itu
ideologi.
Apa itu, ya kan?
Ya,
itu biasanya dibangun dari kajian teori, melakukan analyze setiap acuan, melakukan compare terhadap berbagai referensi, lalu membangun ringkasannya, istilah konsepnya ya, melakukan sintesis ya, sintesis terhadap berbagai. Di sini belum ada ya, sehingga orang akan bertanya-tanya, itu bisa melahirkan multitafsir nanti ya. Itu tidak boleh ini disimpan di perpustakaan, sebelum itu disempurnakan. Ya.
Baik.
Batasan istilah itu ya. Oke, kita lanjut ke Prof. Aisyah Ginsing. Silakan Bu Aisyah.
Ya, selamat pagi. Terima kasih Profesor Borno. Terima kasih atas kesempatan ini, dan saya akan memulai beberapa pertanyaan kepada Mandra Saragih. Are you ready, Mandra Saragih?
Yes.
Okay. Okay. In data analysis, you analyze the data briefly, but you don't mention it in findings and conclusion, and also in the discussion. Yeah, suppose if you explain it deeply in the discussion, Yeah, and also in another explanation about the data analysis. So you can get what Prof. Tina says about the keywords. The keyword is, what is the keyword? The first keyword?
Language policy.
No, not language policy.
Landscape.
No, language competition, right?
Language, yes.
Yeah, yeah, and also you can also get the explanation of the language policy and language mapping, right? But here, yeah, what Bu Tina says is already existing in the data analysis, and but you don't explain it in the findings and conclusion and in the discussion. If you explain it in the discussion, yeah, you will get the idea of the keyword and the idea of language mapping. But yeah, I hope that you have to explain it as what Pak Borno says, Prof. Borno says. Yeah, before you finish, so you have explained it clearly. In fact, that you don't explain it briefly. Yeah, this is related to the problem 1. Yeah. Yeah, this is about the proportion of language ideology and the proportion of language map. Yeah, so as I told you before, that you have to revise it. Yeah, but you revise it not briefly. So you can get the idea of the 3 terms: language competition, language ideology, and language mapping. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. My question is, why don't you do it? Why don't you write, or why don't you revise as what I told you before about the language ideology and language mapping, and also the keyword language competition?
I thank you for the question, Prof. And actually, I have revised some point in my dissertations, and I have discussed with Professor Amrin about some revisions in my dissertations.
Okay. Yeah, but I suggest you to revise it again. Okay, Anda.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah. Next question. Yeah. Also in discussion. Yeah. Why don't you write them sequentially based on your problem? Yeah. As what you have write in the findings. And it seems that the explanation you write is mixed together. This is about problem 3. For instance, when your explanation is you mix it together, for instance, and explanation is jumbly. You explain problem number 2, for instance, yeah, in number 2, yeah, and in number 3. In number 3 is about the reason. Yeah, I said about the reason, but in fact that in the discussion, you don't write them this sequentially. For instance, you explain about problem 1 suddenly you mix it together with the problem 2 and problem 2 with the problem 3. So we can get the ideas of your research. We can get the ideas of the research here. Okay, Mandra. Yeah. Yeah,
Okay,
it seemed that you just put from explanation or data analysis about problem 2, problem 3, and then you move it to the discussion. Yeah, suppose that in the discussion, you have to explain it why. When you get the language mapping and the language mapping, so you have to explain it. For instance, why this use mono language, bilingual language, and so on. So you have to explain it. For instance, I see that in there are 2 languages used in the landscape language. That is about ini contoh perumahan, ya. There's suddenly there is the sentence ini contoh perumahan, but the whole is in English. Yeah, so you have to explain it why this happened. Okay.
Yeah, Prof. Okay, Prof.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I think that's all. I just give you a suggestion in order to explain briefly all the explanation, yeah, in findings, in conclusion, and also in discussion. Yeah.
Okay.
So
thank you.
Yeah. Suppose in problem 1, you don't have to write only the number, but you have to explain why it is happened, something like that. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I think that's all. Prof.
Thank you,
Bolno.
Prof.
Baik, terima kasih Prof. Aisyah Ginting. Kita lanjut kepada Prof. Dr. Sriminda Murni, MS. Silakan, Bu Sriminda.
Terima kasih Bapak Direktur Program Pascasarjana Unimed, Bapak Profesor Bornok Sinaga, Bapak Mandra Saragi.
Ya, Prof.
Okay. I will start from your number 2 research findings, okay?
Ya, Prof.
Okay, you mentioned that let me, yeah, the second one. What is this? Yeah, linguistic landscape. I think linguistic landscape, not landscape linguistics, right?
Yes, Prof. Yeah. That's
I'm referring to your PowerPoint, okay? Your slide, okay? So
Yeah,
linguistic landscape is a new approach in the study of language planning and policy, as well as the development and evaluation of language preservation and promotion.
Yes, Prof.
That is the statement you put as the novelty of your research findings, right? So once again, yeah, so you are saying here that linguistic landscape is a new approach. Okay. Now, it's a new approach in the study of language planning and policy. And I think this is also a new approach in formulating or making a new language policy. I guess. Okay.
Yeah, Prof.
Okay, Pak. Yeah, so concerning the facts that linguistic landscape is potentially dynamic, right? We know that if you, I know that you did not research the linguistic landscape, say, in the past 10 years. And you didn't do that, right? You are just researching the Medan linguistic landscape this recent year. And I myself predict that the linguistic landscape will be changing in the future. Yeah, I agree with you when you say that linguistic landscape is something dynamic.
Yes,
yeah, so if we agree with this part, so what do you say? If the linguistic policy is only formulated as a top-down policy, as what we did now, this comes from the idea of nationality. They do not deal with any dynamic changing in the reality. So what do you say? I said that maybe we should also promote that the language policy should also be formulated as a bottom-up policy. What do you say?
Yes, problem. So I strongly agree with your statement, because in making language policy or in making regulations, actually we start from bottom up, not by starting from top down, because bottom up means that we have to be considered, we have to know about language problems or dynamic of language situation in the society. So that's why I say that linguistic landscape is a reflection of language dynamic in the society. So if we want to make a language policy, we have to start from top down, not from bottom up. So I do agree with you, bro.
Yeah, but it will be contradictory to your saying that those in the Medan linguistic landscape do not obey the rules of the PERDA without further suggestion or recommendation that PEMDA should also consider the dynamic nature of the linguistic landscape.
Yes, bro.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
So I do believe that the more dynamic of society will create the more dynamic of language, dynamic of language in the society. So language dynamic or the dynamic of language is depend on the society itself or the dynamic of society itself. So the study of linguistic landscape or the study of social linguistic is never end, because I do believe that our life, our society will more dynamic in the future. So we have to anticipate by formulating language policy concerned to the preserving or promoting Bahasa Indonesia.
Yeah. But if it is only concerned with promoting or preserving Bahasa Indonesia, then all linguistic landscapes which use English, Arabic, will be violating the language policy of the country, Pa. So it means that in one side we need to preserve Bahasa Indonesia and local languages. But on the other side, we should also consider the facts that the nature of the linguistic landscape are dynamic based on the various reasons they have. As what you said, that business reason, I don't know what's the term that you use.
Commercialization.
Commercialization and other reasons that they have. So it means that we have to have what do you call that? We have to have a certain what do you call it? Principle of language policy, which is not only one side preserving Indonesian language only, but we also need to see the dynamic nature. So it should be put in the policy that concerning the linguistic, the dynamic nature of the linguistic landscape. With the reason it should also be considered. So I think you need to edit in some way your suggestion or recommendation or your findings just to make sure that the dynamic nature of the linguistic landscape, which will be happening through the years in the future, should be accommodated in the language planning part. So not only preservation. Yeah, thank you. And then in your research findings, your findings, the novelty, I mean, number one, just now we talk about your novelty. Number two, Pak. Yeah, say once again, if you just mentioned that we need to preserve Indonesian language or local language as the main principle of language planning, so there will be no novelty, Pak. But if you put there that the government should consider both, one side promote preserving the Indonesian language and local language, and the other side considering the dynamic nature of the linguistic landscape. So these both should be put to be accommodated in Indonesian language policy. Baru ada novelty-nya rasanya, Pak. Begitu ya.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. And then number two, this is also very interesting. But you don't. I think you did not yet promote this very clearly, Pak. When you mentioned there are three things that you put here: negotiated, constructed, and mutually agreed. Yeah, you did not describe this yet, but this is very potential to be a strong novelty of your study. In what way it is not negotiated? In what way it is reconstructed? In what way it is mutually agreed? Because as what we understand, every individual, every company just make names, just create their billboard, right? Just create their name of their company. Say, for example, my son has Fame Studio, for example. They just get the certification, Akte Notaris, right? Famous, right? And then I did not see yet any process of negotiation, any process of reconstruction, any process of a mutual agreement between whom and whom. Is it between the company or the individual with the government? Is it between whom and whom? This is actually processing. Could you please tell this so we can reformulate this?
Well, I think, yes, I do agree with you, Professor. And actually we have, and concern to this finding, we have a lot of discussions with Professor Amrin about the keyword that you have just mentioned before about constructed, negotiated, constructed, and mutually agreed by the contestant. So actually, we have a rules, and we have a clear rules that regulated about the language used or in public space, in public area. So it is clear. Refers to the regional regulations, governor made up by governor, not Sumatra. So the rules are clear, are very clear that if we the use of bahasa is mandatory in the public area, on public space, but there are many people miss these regulations. There are still many companies used, for example, in making billboard. So billboard is public areas, but there are still...
My question is, sorry, Pak. My question is, yes, who are involved in the process of negotiation, construction and mutually agreement actually, Pak? When is it happening and who are involved? Yeah.
So among contestants, so contestants mean is retailers, for example, business owner or organizations, or that's or a contestant are reversed to those people's Rob. So they construct and they negotiated with the government sometimes, Rob. So in making a tax in the billboard or namings the name place names and etc. So sometimes contestants are negotiated among contestant and the government itself.
Okay. well, my to my understanding, those people who are in charge of the giving license to any company and individual who are proposing a name for their company, for example, this person in charge, I don't think they really, know the language policy. I don't think they work on that one. They don't know the principle of Indonesian language policy or any Perda. I don't think so. So I don't see any negotiation here yet. As my son experienced in, getting the certification for the license of his business, there was no agreement. There was no, negotiation. Just give the profile of the company and get the certification of that. There is no agreement. So I think, yeah. So this is just to what do you call it? To add more to the perspective of language policy that you are promoting to the government. So we already agree that it should not be done only top down, but it should be both top down and bottom up, in which the dynamic nature of linguistic landscape should be also accommodated by language planning. On the other side, there should be a process of negotiation. There should be a process of mutual agreement in which I don't know, do we need any one